everybody, so I am here today to film a fantastic meal prep video. This is an entirely vegetarian meal prep. Just one recipe, one of my favorites. It is super customizable and super easy. Now I said easy, not fast. This is not the fastest recipe in the world, but you have to do almost no work, so I adore it. So this is a recipe for a tortellini primavera, sort of. But primavera is typically made with vegetables I don't really like. But we're basically going to make tortellini and roasted vegetables. It's really good. It's super filling. And it's low in fat, it's high in protein, it's high in fiber, it's fantastic. And it's great because you can customize it so much and it lasts at least a week in the fridge. So you can make this recipe and it will feed you lunches for the rest of the week. So this is a look at what you need for this recipe. We need some tortellini. If you want to use ravioli or something like that, you can. I use frozen, refrigerated, or homemade. If you're real fancy, that's fine. We want some vegetables. I love frozen vegetables. They're frozen at their peak, so they're real fresh. They're still very good for you. California blend, broccoli, cauliflower, carrot, my favorites. If you want to use fresh vegetables, you can. If you want to use peppers, onions, anything else, go for it. We need some oil. Any kind is fine. I use a blended vegetable oil. If you use olive oil, the recipe might take a little longer, and I'll explain that later. We want some salt, some seasonings, a little bit of garlic, granules, stuff like that. But really, it's up to you. If you want to throw in some sausage or some chicken, that's fine. The biggest thing you need is some tortellini or ravioli and some vegetables. So I have my oven preheating right now. It just says pre, but it is set to 425 degrees, and this is why if you're using olive oil, this recipe takes a while. Especially if you're using frozen vegetables, roasting the vegetables for this recipe takes, probably 45 minutes, and that's using a vegetable oil. Olive oil has a lower smoke point, which means at a lower temperature it starts smoking, which is, I've got a kitty here who wants to be involved. Which is not super healthy for you, not great for your house, and it means that your oil is getting pretty close to starting on fire. So if you're using olive oil, you'll want to roast your vegetables at a lower temperature, something like 350, which means it could take an hour and 15 minutes to get them really nicely roasted. Here's Penny. Penny wants to be held but hates being held. It's tough for her. So while the oven's preheating, I also have a big pot of water on because we are going to boil the entire bag of tortellini. So just a big pot of salted water, which will eventually boil, and we'll go from there. So the vegetables are very easy to prepare, especially if you're using frozen vegetables, because it means you don't have to chop anything. Basically, you're going to take your vegetables. I use about a pound. You can use more than that, especially if you're using more tortellini or ravioli. You can also use a little less if you're putting in sausage or chicken, and maybe that's too much food for you. So pour this out on a thick rimmed baking sheet. And you can do this right from frozen. You do not have to thaw the vegetables out beforehand. If you do, they will roast a little faster. But like I said, this is not meant as a quick recipe anyways. So we're going to take our oil. We're just going to drizzle a little on top. Mix it up so everything's coated in some oil. And then we sprinkle on our seasoning. So I have a little bit of salt. Don't mind the cat. She would like to sing you all the song of her people. And then some organic garlic granules. Do whatever you like. If you want it to be spicy, go for it. If you want to put some Italian seasoning on there, go for it. It's supposed to be customized to whatever you would like. You're the one that's going to be eating it every day for a while, probably. So, make sure you enjoy it. And then we just spread the vegetables out so they are in a single layer. And they are ready to go in the oven. Okay, so now the oven is preheated and ready for the vegetables. Penny could not stand the idea of me cooking by myself, so now she is hanging out on my shoulder. Let's get the vegetables into the oven. And then I'm going to set the timer for about 40 minutes. It might not take that long, but it's a good way to just remind us that we have to check on them, because we will need to flip them a few times during the process. And there's no real set done point for the vegetables. It depends on how much you like them roasted. If you want them to just be cooked through, it won't take as long. I like mine to get a little crispy, not quite burnt, but I like them roasted. I want them to be roasted vegetables and not just cooked vegetables. I like them to have a little crispiness along the outside. So now that our water is about to boil, and I know it's not quite yet, but it's pretty close, I'm going to dump in the tortellini. And one of the things I love about tortellini is you don't really have to time it. And it cooks very quickly. The way that I was taught when I was a kid, and I ate a lot of tortellini when I was a kid, was when it's all floating, that's when it's done. So we're just going to dump it in. We are going to give it a stir to get it started. And then we're just going to wait a couple minutes and we'll come back and you'll see that all of the tortellini is floating, and then we'll strain it out. See, what did I tell you? It's been 4 or 5 minutes and our tortellini is all floating. So it is done. I am going to drain it all and I will be right back with you. So if you're like me, you cannot have tortellini or basically any pasta without butter. So I'm going to dump big wad of butter into our pot, which is still hot. We'll start melting that down, and then we can throw in the tortellini itself. So then we dump in our drained tortellini. Beautiful. Stir to coat all of that with some butter. Drop a tortellini out of the pot. And now all we're waiting on is the vegetables to be done roasting. So I am going to probably be stirring them pretty soon, and then I'll be back with you guys when everything is done and it's time to combine. So the vegetables have been in the oven for about half an hour now, so let's see how they look. Ooh, so look at how beautiful these vegetables are. So this is after half an hour being roasted at 425 degrees Fahrenheit. And I love that they're slightly browned. That is the way I like my roasted vegetables. So now that everything has had a chance to cool down, it's time to assemble it, which is, of course, the easiest part. We are just going to split our tortellini equally between our containers. I'm using 4 larger containers. You can put them into smaller ones. You can put them into basically whatever you would like, just depending on how much food you need for each meal. I know each of these containers, with how big they are going to be about 2 meals for me. Maybe 1.5, depending on how hungry I am. But this is definitely more than 1 meal for me. And then we do the same thing with our vegetables. And I like to try to make sure that there's an equal distribution of each type of vegetable. So I want to make sure that there isn't any containers with, say, no cauliflower. Because I love cauliflower. And the reason I like using the California blend vegetables so much is not only because they're all vegetables that I like, because even though I'm a vegetarian and I eat a lot of vegetables, there are some vegetables I don't like. I don't like any peppers. I hate peppers. But these are so good, and with the carrots in there, the carrots add just a little bit of sweetness, which I think is very interesting in the combination of vegetables. And now this is also the time where if there's any other toppings you want to add in there, you toss them on in. So if you want some Parmesan cheese or anything like that in your dishes, which is very good, now's when you would add that. So what we are left with is this fantastic tortellini primavera. And as you can see, this is not a lot of vegetables for each one. I normally do 2 pounds of vegetables for 1 bag of tortellini. But unfortunately, I haven't been to the grocery store in a while, and I don't have any more vegetables in my freezer. Besides stuff that's just like corn. So that's not great. So seal all of those up tight. We're gonna stick them in the fridge. So these will keep in the fridge for about a week. I would say if you can use them up within 5 days, that would be best. Slide them on in there. And there we are, tortellini primavera. Thank you guys for tuning in to the first episode of Fridge Full of Food Fridays. So if you enjoyed that recipe, please leave a thumbs up on this video to help other people find it. Let me know in the comments what you would add to it, or if you've tried it, let me know what you think. Also, if you enjoyed this video and you don't want to miss any of my future videos, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I post a lot of fitness challenges, I post some vlogs just kind of about my life, and I'm doing a lot of recipes and stuff like that. So stick around and hopefully you will enjoy what you see. Thank you guys for tuning in.